Chapter 11 The Ghost King Deep Under the Earth. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Little girl, hurry up and light the sky lanterns. You see, these ghosts can't bear it anymore. A kind-hearted old man next to him advised, although there are many human monks next to the pool, including those who are strong in the shaping god realm, the number of evil ghosts in 10,000 Ghosts Ridge is too great. There are hundreds of evil ghosts in Yuan High realm alone, and the evil ghosts in the god-shaping realm are probably no less than 30 or 40, such a powerful strength is simply unmatched by the human monks here. Little girl, hurry up and push the guy next to you who is in the mysterious Dan realm into the pool. Another person also urged quickly. Luoli gritted her teeth, with a complex expression on her face, and looked at her ancestor without daring to say a word. You don't have to feel guilty. Yiyun smiled softly, reached out and patted Luo Li's shoulder, jumped into the black pool. He walked hundreds of miles forward in the pool, came to the center of the pool, and stopped. There was a strange power in the black water, as if there were countless insects trying to get into Yiyun's body. Yiyun did not take any action, but instead restrained the aura of the true god. I'm afraid that if any breath leaks out, this place will be destroyed. The power of the black water could not penetrate his body, not even his clothes. Ouch! The evil ghosts above the black pool roared towards Yiyun. When they heard Yiyun laughing loudly, they raised their hands and emitted streaks of black light, which fell towards Yiyun's body. Yiyun closed his eyes, his face was calm, without any expression. The black light fell on him and disappeared. In the eyes of outsiders, it seemed to have taken effect. The next moment, red candles appeared above Yiyun's head, and sky lanterns were also lit. Ancestor, he should be fine. Luo Li by the pool watched this scene nervously, her heart in her throat. She kept comforting herself in her heart, but she felt a little relieved when she saw that her ancestor's expression remained as normal even though the sky lantern was lit. Everything in front of him was transformed by Yiyun. That day, the lamplight candle began to emit a strange energy from Yiyun's head. This energy seemed to be summoned by the black pool, slowly falling into the pool and floating to a mysterious place. Thousands of meters underground, inside a dark ancient coffin, a huge ghost was sleeping. A ray of energy from Yiyun floated over and was quickly sucked in by it. Then it opened its eyes. It was a pair of blood-colored eyes with a fierce light. God is really helping me. This time, I can definitely restore the trauma to my soul. The self-proclaimed king of the evil ghost suddenly bared the white fangs at the corners of his mouth, revealing a ferocious smile. It is the only ghost king in Wangue Ridge. It used to be a strong person in the Xinqiao realm, but due to the trauma to its soul, its level dropped to the half-step Xinqiao realm. For thousands of years, it is hiding deep underground in Wangue Ridge and constantly healing its wounds. The injury on its soul was caused by one of its enemies. Ordinary panaceas cannot cure it at all. He simply hid in the extremely remote place of Guyu dynasty to heal his wounds, so as to avoid being pursued by his enemies. Deep underground, this ghost king accidentally discovered a black coffin. There is actually a strange method of lighting a sky lantern on the black coffin, which has a miraculous effect on the recovery of his soul, but the speed will be slower, which makes him see the light of day. So it gathered some ghosts and descendants, and at the same time taught them some powerful ghost powers, allowing them to turn Wangue Ridge into a forbidden place. Those devils, ghosts and grandsons helped him find humans from the human race to burn for him as sky lanterns. After all, there are still enemies, and even in this remote Guyu dynasty, the Ghost King does not dare to make a big show of it, so humans were allowed to take the initiative to offer sacrifices, in exchange for the peace of the Guyu dynasty's territory. This is the origin of Wangue Ridge and the reason for lighting sky lanterns. For thousands of years, the sky lantern has been lit countless times. Its soul is slowly recovering, and it is only a small step away from complete recovery. If we follow the schedule, it will still need to light the sky lantern 3 times, but unexpectedly, among the humans who lit the sky lanterns this time, some actually had a special energy in their souls, which accelerated their recovery. The Ghost King couldn't help but secretly rejoice. This time the soul is restored. It can return to the half-step divine bridge realm. After another 10 or 8 years of rest, he will probably be able to hit the Xinqiao realm again. the Ghost King was still extremely excited at the thought of being able to return to the previous realm of Xinqiao. It opened its bloody eyes and stared at the black coffin board, constantly absorbing the energy of the sky lantern in the ghost pool and recovering the wounds on its soul. So fast. The Ghost King couldn't help but feel elated when he felt that his soul was healing at double speed. The energy coming from the ghost pool became stronger and stronger, causing the soul to recover faster and faster. This couldn't help but surprise him. It originally took 49 days to light the sky lanterns, but it has already been carried out for more than 10 days, and there are less than 30 days left, but at the current rate, I'm afraid it won't take more than a few days. Yi Yunin. The ghost pool, looking at the Ghost King from afar, he sneered in his heart. This Ghost King thought he was lucky, but he didn't know that everything was under his control. Yi Yun was not in a hurry. He is constantly refining the blood of the ancestral dragon in his body. His cultivation level is also constantly improving. 2 days passed. Yi Yun's cultivation level quickly broke through to the 3rd level of True God Realm. 5 days passed. Yi Yun's cultivation level has broken through to the 4th level of True God Realm. Feeling that the power of the ancestral dragon essence and blood in his body was still so surging, Yi Yun smiled slightly. Sure enough, this ancestral dragon essence and blood can allow him to break through to the 10th level of the True God Realm. Unfortunately, he has stayed in this place long enough now. The Ghost King has almost recovered and will come out soon. Yi Yun used his consciousness to look at Luo Li at the edge of the pool and found that she had been standing there nervously with her little hands clenched into fists. The body is a little stiff. Don't worry, Luo Li, I'm fine. Yi Yun sent out a spiritual thought. Luo Li nodded quickly, her hanging heart finally falling. At this time, she looked at her junior brother Jun Moxiao again, and found that his face was getting worse and worse, and he seemed to be unable to hold on. She began to worry again. Her master took on 3 disciples. Luo Li ranked 2nd. She also has a senior sister named Su Wani, who looks like a fairy. It's just that the senior sister is missing. Now her life or death is uncertain, and Luo Li doesn't know where she is, but what is certain is that senior sister should not have fallen into the hands of the enemy. Little girl, which sect are you from? Perhaps he was too bored, but a white-haired old man in the God-shaping realm actually took the initiative to chat with Luo Li. Chapter 12 The Ghost King is Born. You are listening at novelfull.audio. I'm from the Shenlong Sect. Luo Li raised her chin slightly, with a look of pride on her face. The white-haired old man was stunned, blinked his eyes, and thought hard, but he didn't expect who the sacred dragon sect was. Is it an outside force? The old man thought to himself. Next to the old man was a young monk whose cultivation was at the 5th level of Yuan High Realm. After hearing what Luo Li said, he couldn't help but laugh. Shenlong Sect, is this the sect of the Guyu dynasty? Why have I never heard of it? Luo Li glanced at him indifferently and said calmly. Our Shenlong Sect is just a small sect, and cannot be compared with your majestic Wuji Divine Sword Sect. The young man chuckled. It's good that you know that our Wuji Divine Sword Sect is one of the 10 largest sects in the Guyu dynasty, and our current strength can rank among the top 5. When the old man saw his disciple talking so openly, he couldn't help but turn his head and glare at him. This absolutely beautiful little girl, you can tell from a glance that she is from a very high family. Don't look at anything else, just look at the imperial robe she is wearing. It is not something that ordinary sects can get. Even the head of their Wuji Divine Sword Sect does not have an imperial level robe. So the old man didn't dare to underestimate the little girl in front of him. Little girl, are you here alone? The old man asked with a smile beside him. Luo Li nodded but did not speak. Almost everyone around him had a strange look in his eyes at this moment. However, some extremely experienced and powerful people have long locked their sights on Luo Li's imperial robe. Now the old man used his words to find out the little girl's true identity. Then they have nothing to worry about and can directly snatch the royal robe from the little girl. Anyway, after throwing the excuse at Wangue Ling, I guess no one is so short-sighted and would seek trouble at Wangue Ling. However, there are currently more than a dozen major forces in total. It would probably be extremely brutal to actually capture it. The old man stared at Luo Li with a harmless look on his face, smiled kindly and said, Little girl, you are wearing an imperial robe, right? Luo Li glanced at the old man coldly, knowing full well, I have been struggling in the arena for so many years. Luo Li naturally knew the meaning in the eyes of these people in front of her. Money moves people's hearts. No one would be interested in this royal magic weapon. What, do you want to snatch this royal robe from me? Luo Li had a cold look in her eyes, and drew out the supreme golden dragon sword, pointing the tip of the sword at the old man. Although this old man is a great monk in the realm of shaping gods, Luo Li is not a fuel-efficient lamp. She has the eternal-level Shenlong Sect swordsmanship and the god-level Taishan golden dragon sword in her hand. Coupled with her 9 transformations of the Shenlong, her body skills are extremely weird. She may not be able to compete with this strong man in the god-shaping realm. Even if she couldn't fight, wouldn't there be an ancestor next to her? So Luo Li wasn't worried at all. In the eyes of the ancestors of the true god realm, these people are just like ants. It is estimated that all these people will die if it is blown in one breath. More than a dozen major forces slowly walk towards Luo Li. A war seems imminent. Right now, inside the ghost car, a roaring sound suddenly came from the ghost car, then a rumbling sound came from the depths of the pool. The powerful evil spirits placed on the pool roared excitedly. What happened? Everyone stopped at this moment and looked at the pool with solemn expressions. Lighting sky lanterns has been going on for thousands of years, and there has never been such an amazing change. A vortex began to slowly spin in the ghost car. The humans around who had their sky lanterns lit were all swept around the pool by the whirlpool. Then an eerie laughter came from the depths of the whirlpool. Everyone held their breath and watched the scene in front of them nervously, especially some strong men in the god-shaping realm suddenly changed their expressions slightly. They actually felt an indescribable powerful aura in this vortex. Yi Yun stood next to the ghost car, opened his eyes, and looked at the whirlpool quietly. The ghost king born from the ground has now been completely repaired and is ready to be born. Yi Yun was waiting for this moment. He was strategizing all because he wanted this little devil to die clearly. Otherwise, if he were to be wiped out directly, his death would be unclear, and there would be no point in doing so. Yi Yun signed in for 100,000 years in that mysterious dark space. What I fear most now is loneliness. If he can do tricks to kill people, then he is playing into his hands. A shocking breath suddenly rushed out of the vortex. As soon as this aura appeared, the evil ghosts howling all around immediately fell on the ground and crawled on the ground one by one, showing fanatical expressions. The expressions of the powerful men in the god-shaping realm next to them changed drastically, and they stepped back, looking at the whirlpool in shock. What kind of cultivation is this? A middle-aged man asked with a shocked look on his face. This is the divine bridge realm. The white-haired old man said with a solemn expression. What? He turned out to be a strong man in the Xinqiao realm. Hearing the old man's words, everyone around him was shocked. The next moment, everyone shuddered. That aura was obviously not a human aura, but a sinister aura filled with evil spirits. This is a powerful ghost king, the ghost king of the Xinqiao realm. Thinking of this, everyone's faces turned pale and they were ready to turn around and run away. A black ghost mist rushed out of the maelstrom. In midair, it kept squirming and turned into a black behemoth. He was 5 or 6 feet tall, and his body was filled with black energy. This supreme ghost king has blood-red eyes and a green face with fangs, giving people a very vicious feeling. Ha ha ha. I have finally recovered. Thousands of years later, when he saw the sky again, this ghost king couldn't help but look up to the sky and laugh. Run! All around, all the human monks screamed in surprise and fled in all directions like birds and beasts. This king is reborn. Shouldn't you congratulate me? Then a rumbling sound resounded throughout Wangue Ridge. Someone immediately stopped, turned around in fear, and knelt on the ground. Congratulations to the ghost king. Congratulations to the ghost king. One after another, human monks knelt on the ground and tremblingly expressed their inner congratulations. There were also some human monks who fled quickly. When the ghost king saw this, he couldn't help being furious. He stretched out his big hand and shot out streams of black light. The black light roared in and swept back the human monks. The ghost king reached out and threw these humans into his mouth. Click. Click. Chewed it and swallowed it. Seeing how ferocious this ghost king was, actually devouring fellow human beings alive, the other people were so frightened that they almost fainted and fell to the ground. The strong men in the Xinqiao realm are too strong. It's simply not something people like them can handle. After eating dozens of human monks, the ghost king wiped the corners of his mouth covered with blood with his hand and laughed. I haven't felt this good in years. His laughter just passed, suddenly a warm voice resounded throughout the space. A ghost is a ghost, the lowest creature, and will never be on the stage. Chapter 13 The Terror of the True God, All Ghosts Are Destroyed. You are listening at novelfull.audio. The Ghost King who is in high spirits. When I first heard this harsh sound, I couldn't help but get furious. He glanced around fiercely, but he couldn't find the source of the sound. Who is it? So bold, you dare to slander this king? That the Ghost King roared angrily, and his aura became more and more powerful. At this time, his eyes suddenly stopped and suddenly fell on a little human woman next to the pool. Almost all the human monks knelt down, but the human woman next to the pool still stood upright, as if a sword was stuck in the ground. You, a small human monk in the Yuan High realm, why don't you kneel down when you see this king? That the Ghost King was furious and slapped Luoli. As the leader of Shenlong Sect, I will not kneel to anyone in the world except my ancestors. Sonorous and powerful, Luoli's pretty face was cold, and her facial features were as sharp as a knife. Her body suddenly turned into 9 illusory dragons and flew out in all directions. For a moment it was impossible to see clearly which one was the real body. After reaching the 10th level of the Yuan High realm, Luoli became even more comfortable with the 9 transformations of the divine dragon, Call. A giant ghost hand swatted it down, but failed. What kind of movement is this? That the Ghost King was not surprised when he saw that his attack failed. How capable is this little girl? No wonder she dares to be so arrogant. The Ghost King did not continue to attack. He still remembered the taunting male voice, and suddenly felt uneasy. Things are strange, there seems to be a mysterious force hiding in the darkness. Stop looking, kid. Yi Yun smiled softly, and his body slowly rose from the pool. Luoli's figure flashed and landed next to Yi Yun. Luoli, your body skills are quite good, and you have a bit of my style back then. Yi Yun smiled and patted Luoli with his hand. He originally wanted to stop it just now, however, seeing that Luoli's newborn calf was not afraid of tigers and actually wanted to escape from the Ghost King in the half-step Shinxiao mirror, Yi Yun wanted to see if she could do it. The result surprised him. Luoli successfully escaped. Although the Ghost King also underestimated the enemy, but no matter what, with the 10th level of Yuan High realm, he was able to escape from the hands of the half-step Shinxiao realm expert, which is something to be proud of. The Ghost King followed the sound and found Yi Yun. He was slightly startled. The young man in front of him actually only had the cultivation level of Xiandan realm. After soaking in the pool for so long, he seemed not to have suffered any damage and was still in high spirits. Who is this person? The Ghost King was a little surprised. He felt the other person's aura carefully and found that he was still at the Xiandan realm, and couldn't help but feel a little more relaxed. Your Excellency, you have such a bad tone, that the Ghost King said coldly. Then with a wave of his hand, more than a dozen Yuan High realm evil ghosts roared and rushed towards Yi Yun. Luoli was about to draw his sword to protect his ancestor. However, before she raised her sword, she found that these evil ghosts were still in mid-air. Snapped. Yi Yun snapped his fingers and saw that all the evil spirits died immediately. As it fell from the sky, it turned into wisps of blue smoke. What a powerful magical power! But when the Ghost King saw this, his pupils shrank sharply, and he suddenly felt a terrifying aura coming. He made a mistake. This young man is definitely not in the Xiandan realm. Perhaps a peerless person even more powerful than him. Finally there's help. The human monks kneeling around each breathed out a sigh of relief, with expressions on their faces showing the hope of surviving the disaster. Unexpectedly, the young man in the pool turned out to be a peerless master. This gave them hope of survival. The Ghost King stared at Yi Yun, and suddenly he thought of retiring. He turned into a ghost mist and whizzed away through the sky. Return. Yi Yun said something softly. Seeing that the black mist seemed to have been summoned by something, it immediately came back. How can it be? In the black ghost mist, the Ghost King's surprised voice came. Just now, he tried his best to escape, but unexpectedly, he was suddenly pulled back by a huge force. This frightened him to the point of splitting his liver and gallbladder, and left him out of his wits. Could this be? Is Nirvana or the Mirror of Destiny powerful? Otherwise, how could he possess such powerful strength? It would make him unable to resist at all. Even if he returns to his peak level, Shenxiao realm, he is no match for the young man in front of him. The ancestors are so powerful. Seeing that his ancestor followed his words, Luo Li took back the supreme golden dragon sword and let out a sigh of admiration in his heart. True God, really terrifying. It's so scary. Yi Yun looked at the black ghost mist that was constantly moving, his brows sank slightly, and he said coldly, "Little devil, the reason why I let you live until now is because I want you to die." "My lord, how have I offended you? Are you going to kill me?" The Ghost King said in horror. He had no idea when he had offended the big man in front of him. Yi Yun smiled coldly. "There is a disciple of my Shenlong Sect in the pool. You can use him to light a sky lantern to help you recover from your injuries. From this point on, you can die 10,000 times. So that's it." The Ghost King couldn't help but beat his chest and wanted to kill the human monks outside. A small person actually cost him his life. He was really unwilling. Yi Yun continued to sneer. "According to your speed, it would be impossible to recover without lighting the sky lanterns 2 or 3 times. So I injected a little recovery spiritual power into you in advance so that you can wake up early this time." After hearing Yi Yun's words, the Ghost King's eyes were filled with horror, as if he had fallen into an ice cellar. It turned out that the strange spiritual power he absorbed in the coffin was deliberately sent to him by the big man in front of him. Now he is doomed. But when death is imminent, he still wants to fight again. "Kill him for me." The Ghost King issued an order to attack all the evil ghosts. These evil spirits were basically controlled by him. They followed his orders and roared in, like a black cloud, covering the entire canyon. Then he took advantage of the chaos and ran away into the distance. Little tricks. Yi Yun blew out a breath gently. This stream of clear air, like a mysterious flame, with strong high temperature, turned into an overwhelming flame net, enveloping all the evil spirits that fell from the canyon. "Ah!" Followed by screams. There was also a zitsy sound. These evil ghosts, all full of energy, turned into blue smoke and disappeared in this moment. Looking at the Ghost King fleeing into the distance, Yi Yun smiled coldly and blew out another breath of fresh air. This breath of fresh air descended on the black mist in an instant, and then a scream was heard coming from the black mist. The entire black mist also turned into blue smoke and disappeared. With just 2 breaths of fresh air, all the evil spirits in Wangue Ridge disappeared. When all the human monks around saw this scene, they couldn't help but be shocked, and they were as stunned as stone statues. Chapter 14 Junior Brother Jun Moxiao. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Who is this young man? What kind of cultivation is he? He only blew 2 breaths and wiped out all the ghosts in Wangue Ridge. Isn't it incredible? The human monks around him all stood up and looked at Yi Yun with admiration in their eyes. There was great fanaticism in his eyes. They had never heard of such a powerful person. Just now, a Ghost King of the Divine Bridge realm suddenly appeared in Wangue Ridge, scaring them half to death. They might even be eaten by the Ghost King, but what they didn't expect was that they were saved by a noble man from the tiger's mouth. Thank you for your help. Countless human monks clasped their fists one by one, showing expressions of gratitude. Yi Yun looked around, his eyes still cold. Seeing that this big man was so indifferent and seemed to be disdainful, the monks from all the major forces around him suddenly felt that their faces were dull and they were making a fuss. Let's go. Everyone looked at each other and turned around to leave Wangue Ridge. At this moment, a cold sound suddenly echoed through Wangue Ridge. Did I let you go? Hearing this familiar voice, everyone's bodies suddenly stopped, turned around, and looked at the big man in confusion. Luo Li, were they trying to steal your imperial robe just now? Yi Yun narrowed his eyelids and asked softly, I saw my ancestor asking this. Luo Li's delicate body trembled slightly, and she nodded decisively, saying, Yes, ancestor, these people all want to steal the imperial robe from me. That's good. Yi Yun looked at the crowd around him with a terrifying look in his eyes, and said indifferently, You can all die. When they heard this big shot suddenly say such inhumane words, everyone immediately went crazy. Senior, you are also the supreme master of our human race, why do you want to kill each other? That's right, Senior, you can't do that, you are the hero in our hearts. Senior, you destroyed Wangue Ridge in 2 breaths. This behavior can be recorded in the history of Guyu dynasty. We are all proud of you. Senior, were you joking just now? Are you sure you won't really kill us? That at this moment, the human monks all around had different expressions, some couldn't believe it, some were praising them desperately, and some were silent, their eyes constantly flashing, as if they were calculating the escape route. Yi Yun's eyes were aloof and cold at this moment, he looked at the people around him without any expression. Those who dare to bully our Shenlong sect, without any reason, will have only one end, and that is, death. After saying that, Yi Yun took a breath of fresh air. This breath of fresh air flew out in all directions. Seeing Yi Yun blowing out this terrifying breath again, everyone was so frightened that they immediately used their powerful magical powers to run away, but their overall strength is weaker than the evil ghosts in Wangui Ridge, so how can they escape? In the screams, thousands of human monks all turned into wisps of blue smoke. Seeing this shocking scene, Luo Li's pupils dilated and she was extremely shocked. My ancestor is really a cruel person, that she thought excitedly. According to Luo Li's idea, the most he can do is give these people a lesson, but not kill them, but the ancestor directly killed thousands of people. Such courage was really shocking. Luo Li doesn't know that in the eyes of God, any life is like an ant. Yi Yun looked at Luo Li, patted his shoulder, and said with a smile, no need to sympathize with them. Oh. Luo Li agreed softly, her face still a little pale. Yi Yun said with a smile, even if they die, a new crop of leeks will grow later, don't worry. Good. Although Luo Li felt that her ancestor's words were a bit unbelievable, she still nodded obediently. Okay, it's quiet now. Yi Yun clapped his hands and chuckled, then he frowned slightly and found that there were some human monks who were only breathing out in the pool. These people had been lighting sky lanterns for more than 10 days, and the oil was almost exhausted. I'll send you on your way. Yi Yun blew out a breath, and in an instant more than 10,000 people disappeared, leaving only Luo Li's junior brother Jun and Moxiao. Yi Yun waved, and Lord Grimm flew out of the pool and landed on the ground next to him. Little junior brother. Luo Li's heart tightened and she rushed over. Yi Yun flashed and came to Lord Grimm's side. He pressed Luo Li with one hand and said softly, this water contains some kind of toxin, so don't touch it for the time being. Yi Yun said, groped around in the warehouse, took out a small bottle, and poured out a drop of green liquid. After this drop of green liquid fell on Lord Grimm, all the poisonous water stained on his body disappeared. This made Luo Li wonder. Yi Yun didn't explain too much, put away the vial, and injected a trace of mana into Lord Grimm's body. Only then did Lord Grimm wake up and open his eyes. The scene in front of him turned from blurry to clear, and the beautiful little face of his senior sister appeared in front of him. Senior sister, will we meet in hell? Lord Grimm smiled stupidly. The descendants of Shenlong Sect are few and far between, and since the death of their master, the situation of the 3 disciples has become even more precarious. First, the senior sister disappeared in order to cover them, and her life and death were unknown. Then the pursuers became fierce. In order to allow senior sister Luo Li to escape and ascend to heaven, he diverted the pursuers away. Although the senior sister escaped at that time, Lord Grimm knew that it would be even more difficult for the senior sister alone. Facing those pursuing soldiers, she basically wouldn't be able to escape for long. Unexpectedly, after these days, my senior sister would also die and meet him in hell. What are you talking about? Junior brother, how could we die? Luo Li cursed Lord Grimm angrily, then laughed again, and gently pointed at the young man in white next to her. Junior brother, hurry up and pay respects to our ancestors. Luo Li said hurriedly, ancestor. Lord Grimm was stunned, turning his eyes in disbelief and looking at the young man in white next to him. This handsome young man in white clothes looked like he was only a few years older than him. How could he be his ancestor? Senior sister, you are not mistaken, are you? Lord Grimm questioned weakly. Can this be wrong? To tell you the truth, junior brother, this is the greatest ancestor in the history of our Shenlong sect. I guess, you can't imagine it, right? A flash of crimson flashed across Luo Li's face, her chin was raised slightly, and a look of pride appeared on her face. Yi Yun, the ancestor, was the most powerful generation in the Shenlong sect. He has sent the Shenlong sect to the eternal level sect. It can be said that he has made the greatest contribution to the sect. Lord Grim closed his eyes and thought for a while, but didn't speak for a long time. After a while, he opened his eyes and asked tentatively, "Is he the 13th generation master of the Shenlong Sect?" "Yes, little junior brother, you are indeed smart." Luoli clapped her hands happily. Junior brother is usually very smart, and the two of them are usually evenly matched. How is this possible? Senior sister, you must be kidding me. Lord Grim smiled bitterly and shook his head repeatedly. What an ancestor. The 13th generation leader of the Shenlong Sect has been dead for 100,000 years, okay? Chapter 15. Junior brother was shocked. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Yiyun clasped his hands behind his back and stared at the conversation between the two senior sisters, with a happy smile on his face. Lord Grim's reaction was normal. The 13th generation leader of the Shenlong Sect have been too far away from now. A full 100,000 years have passed. How can ordinary monks live so long? Even if he reaches the realm of true gods, it is impossible to live to 100,000 years. Seeing that Lord Grim didn't believe it at all, Luoli stamped her foot fiercely and said angrily, "Little junior brother, when did I ever lie to you?" Having said this, Luoli suddenly raised the sect master's token, and swore an oath to the sect master's token with a sacred look on his face. I, Luoli, as the 298th generation leader of the Shenlong Sect, what I just said is true. If there is any lie, I will be struck by thunder from heaven. Senior sister, you must never do this. You can't swear an oath casually. Lord Grim suddenly felt a surge of strength in his body. He propped himself up with his hands and sat up, shouting in panic. Luoli looked at Lord Grim seriously and said, "Do you believe it now?" "Sister, I believe it, I believe you." Lord Grim nodded repeatedly. He looked up at Yiyun, the horror in his eyes getting stronger and stronger. This ancestor has been dead for 100,000 years, how did he come back to life? According to the sect's records, the ancestor's cultivation level back then was very, very high and had reached the pinnacle of Changnan continent, but even at the peak level, it is impossible to live for 100,000 years, right? Luoli smiled softly from the side and said, "Junior brother, you don't have to worry about how our ancestors lived to this day. You just need to know that this is the ancestor of the 13th generation of our Shenlong Sect." "Okay, senior sister." Lord Grim nodded repeatedly, struggled his body, and suddenly knelt on the ground, kowtowing to Yiyun respectfully. "I've met my ancestors." Seeing that Lord Grim finally believed in his identity, Yiyun couldn't help feeling relieved. With a wave of his hand, a burst of mana was released, and he pushed Lord Grim up. "Now that you are weak, you can skip those worldly rituals." Yiyun smiled faintly and took out a small bottle. Seeing this vial, Luoli's eyes lit up and she said excitedly, "Junior brother. Your miserable fate is finally over, and you are about to usher in a glorious path." Lord Grim looked at Luoli in surprise. Luoli clasped her little hands behind her back and raised her chest high. She looked at Jun Moxiao with an arrogant expression and said with a smile, "Junior brother, look at what my cultivation level is now." Although he was seriously injured, Lord Grim still had a little mana left in him. He felt it, his eyes widened, and he shouted in shock, "Senior sister, how did you reach the 10th level of the Yuan High Realm?" "Haha. I knew you would be so surprised if you saw me. To tell you the truth, my ancestor exchanged the blood of the ancestral dragon for me, so my cultivation level has improved by leaps and bounds." Luoli couldn't help laughing. She didn't have any ladylike demeanor at all. The blood of the ancestral dragon. Hearing these 4 words, Lord Grim was so excited that his vision went dark and he fainted. "Hey, junior brother, why did you faint suddenly?" Seeing Lord Grim falling straight down, Luoli rushed over and supported Lord Grim. Yiyun smiled when he saw this. He waved his hand gently, and Lord Grim slowly woke up again. "Ancestor, do you really have the blood of the ancestral dragon?" Lord Grim looked at Yiyun in shock, his face full of disbelief. As a descendant of the Shenlong Sect, he is naturally extremely sensitive to the essence and blood of the Shenlong, especially the blood of the ancestral dragon is deep in their inheritance. Seeing Lord Grim's shocked look, Yiyun moved his hand and immediately produced an extra vial. As soon as she saw this familiar vial, Luoli's face suddenly burst into laughter. Junior brother, our ancestor has the blood of the ancestral dragon in his hands. Lord Grim looked at the small bottle, licked his lips, and said with difficulty. I'm afraid this bottle of ancestral dragon's blood contains hundreds of drops. Are you kidding? Junior brother, you think there are hundreds of drops in it? Luo Li stared at her junior brother. Did I say something wrong? Lord Grim was also confused. He looked at Luo Li and said somewhat unconfidently, Senior sister, are there only a few dozen drops? I really want to hit you on the head with a sword. Luo Li was so angry that she immediately raised her sword and hit Lord Grim on the head, but it stopped in mid-air. She took her hand back, and then giggled. Junior brother, let me tell you the truth. Although it is just a small bottle, in fact it is a cave of its own. There is a lot of ancestral dragon essence and blood in it. Luo Li said proudly. Is it a lot? Lord Grim blinked, stared at the vial in Yi Yun's hand carefully, and said tentatively, Is there about 1,000 drops? Seeing Lord Grim's spineless look, Luo Li couldn't help but stamp her foot and laughed loudly. 1,000 drops, how can it be possible? To tell you the truth, junior brother, there is a big basin in here, at least hundreds of thousands of drops. What? Hundreds of thousands of drops? Lord Grim was stunned, his eyes darkened, and he passed out again. Hey, little junior brother, why are you unconscious again? Luo Li looked like she hated the iron, stamped her feet, bit her lips, and was helpless. You, my junior brother, are younger than you and have experienced too few things. You are still not resilient enough for this kind of thing. Yi Yun said with a smile beside him. He flicked it lightly, and a trace of mana was injected. Lord Grim slowly opened his eyes and sat up again. Yi Yun opened the vial and took out 2 drops of ancestral dragon essence and blood. With a flick of his finger, they flew in front of Lord Grim. Feeling the unique breath of the blood of the ancestral dragon, Lord Grim felt that the blood all over his body was boiling at this moment, as if there was a strong call in his body. Although he also has dragon blood in his body, it is extremely thin, but no matter what, he was able to create a subtle resonance with the essence and blood of the ancestral dragon. At this time, Yi Yun said with a smile, in Wangue Ridge, you experienced a sky lantern lighting. Although it caused serious physical damage to your body, it actually helped you in disguise. These 2 drops of ancestral dragon essence and blood, you should be able to absorb it successfully. Ancestor, thank you so much. Lord Grim burst into tears when he heard Yi Yun's words. All the inhuman torture he encountered in Wangue Ridge seemed to be rewarded at this moment, and the reward was still unimaginable. It was really amazing. Yi Yun smiled slightly. Luo Li advised from the side, little junior brother, don't miss this opportunity, quickly swallow these 2 drops of the ancestral dragon's blood. Okay, senior sister. Lord Grim agreed, opening his mouth. 2 drops of the ancestral dragon's blood flew into his body. The powerful blood of the ancestral dragon turned into countless pure energy and rushed towards his body. At this moment, Lord Grim felt an indescribable surge of power in his body. He suddenly slapped his hands on the ground, immediately sat cross-legged, and began to absorb the essence and blood of the ancestral dragon according to the Shenlong Sect's unique method. Chapter 16 Fish leaps over the dragon gate and shapes the 4th level of the divine realm. You are listening at novelfull.audio. As the blood of the ancestral dragon began to be refined, the aura on Lord Grim's body surged. 6th level of Qi Gathering Realm, 7th level of Qi Gathering Realm, the 8th level of Qi Gathering Realm, 10th level of Qi Gathering Realm. Xiandan Realm. The 1st level of Xiandan Realm, the 2nd level of Xiandan Realm, Yuan Hai Realm. 1st level of Yuan Hai Realm, the 2nd floor of Yuan Hai Realm, the 3rd level of Yuan Hai Realm. Lord Grim's cultivation level is also rapidly improving in the process of refining the essence and blood of the ancestral dragon. Luo Li clenched her fists tightly, stared at her junior brother nervously, and murmured softly in a voice that only she could hear. Junior brother, you have to work hard and strive to break through the Yuan Hai realm and reach the God-shaping realm in one go. Yi Yun put his hands behind his back and looked at the siblings with a smile, feeling extremely relieved. After experiencing the baptism of the blood of the ancestral dragon, the 2 of them became great monks of the Guyu dynasty in one fell swoop. if nothing unexpected happens, Lord Grimm will definitely be able to break through to the God-shaping realm. Next, it all depends on his luck. If it's good, he might be able to break through to the 5th level of the God-shaping realm. This was even bigger than Luo Li's breakthrough. To be fair, Lord Grimm's qualifications are not necessarily better than Luo Li's. Yi Yan once evaluated the qualifications of the two people, and they were basically on the same level, but Luo Li was more mature mentally and tactful, far superior to the young chicken like Lord Grimm. Lord Grimm closed his eyes, his face was rosy, and he was breathing heavily. 2 streaks of red gas shuttled between his nostrils, the aura on his body was still soaring. The 8th level of Yuan High Realm, the 9th level of Yuan High Realm, the 10th level of Yuan High Realm, boom. A sound suddenly came from Lord Grimm's body, and his body shook slightly. His cultivation had broken through to the God-shaping realm. That's great. Junior brother is the first to break through to the God-shaping realm. This is really a gratifying event for our Shenlong Sect. Luo Li was extremely excited, but she didn't dare to say it loudly, so she could only keep clenching her fists. The aura on Lord Grimm's body was still growing rapidly. Finally, he stopped at the 4th level of the God-shaping realm. It was a small level lower than Yi Yan expected. Yi Yan was quite satisfied. Lord Grimm opened his eyes at this moment, and his eyes were filled with brilliant light. His aura was strong, giving people an extremely powerful feeling. He immediately knelt on the ground and kowtowed 3 times to Yi Yan respectfully. Thank you, Ancestor, for making it possible. Get up. Yi Yan smiled slightly, and a burst of mana swept out, lifting Lord Grimm up. Junior brother, you have gone through all the hardships, and now you have become a strong man in the God-shaping realm. Luo Li walked over with a smile and patted Lord Grimm on the shoulder, giving him the demeanor of a sect master. Lord Grimm smiled shyly. Sister, our ancestors are helping us in everything. Yes. Luo Li felt something in her heart and turned to look at Yi Yan with a grateful look in her eyes. Yi Yan pretended not to see it and asked with a smile, Jun Moxiao, how is your Shenlong sword technique going? Seeing his ancestor asking this, Lord Grimm's face suddenly turned red. Reporting to our ancestors, Shenlong sword technique. I didn't learn it very well. Did you all learn the Shenlong 9 transformations to the highest level? Yi Yan laughed. Lord Grimm blushed and nodded. The 3 siblings have practiced the 9 transformations of the divine dragon to the ultimate level of qi gathering. Otherwise, it would be impossible to escape in the hands of some people in the Xiandan realm and Yuan High realm. It's not been easy for you these past few years. Yi Yan sighed and patted Lord Grimm on the shoulder. With a light touch on his wrist, he immediately took out a sword. This sword is given to you. Luo Li felt the breath of the sword and immediately said excitedly, Junior brother, why don't you thank our ancestors quickly? This is an emperor-level divine sword. What? An emperor-level divine sword? Lord Grimm was shocked at that time. He quickly felt the breath of this sword, and couldn't help but open his mouth. His eyes widened, and his whole body stood there like a sculpture. An emperor-level divine sword. How could our ancestors have such awesome weapons? Luo Li picked up his supreme golden dragon sword at this time and said proudly, Little junior brother, look at how my ancestor also gave me one. It's better than yours. Jun Moxiao felt Luo Li's sword and couldn't help but curled his lips and said, Your talent is not as good as mine. Luo Li was a little annoyed and pouted. That's why I asked my ancestor to help me seal this sword. I was afraid of causing other people's misunderstanding. In the future, as my cultivation level improves, the seals of this sword will be unlocked layer by layer. How about this, you also let me our ancestors sealed this sword of yours, so it would be just like this one of mine. What do you think? After hearing what Luo Li said, Jun Moxiao was deeply impressed. He quickly looked at Yi Yan and said with a smile, Ancestor, please help me seal this sword as well. Are you also so low-key? Yi Yan asked with a smile. Old ancestors, we have been running around with our master since we were young. We have long been accustomed to being low-key, so it is better to make this sword more ordinary. Lord Grimm said with a blushing face. All right. Yi Yan nodded. He could understand the psychological state of the 2 siblings. They are all on the run and like to keep a low profile so that they can live longer. Yi Yun lightly tapped the sword with his finger, and the quality of the sword immediately dropped to the heaven level. "By the way, ancestor, what is the name of this sword of my junior brother?" Luo Li asked frankly from the side. "This sword is called Hunyuan Wuji sword." Yi Yun said softly. "What a good name. When you hear it, it sounds extremely domineering, haha. However, little junior brother, your weapons are still one level weaker than mine," Luo Li said excitedly. "Senior sister, the emperor level is already very good, but the god level is simply unimaginable. Besides, you are the new leader of our Shenlong Sect, so it is natural that the sword I use is worse than yours." Lord Grimm smiled disapprovingly. He couldn't put it down and touched the Hunyuan Wuji sword, with infinite surprises filling his heart. Once upon a time, when he was still a young cultivator in the body convergence realm, how could he have thought of owning an emperor-level sword? Now that his wish has come true, he will laugh out loud from his dream. Everything changes so quickly. After experiencing the sky lantern lighting at Wangue Ridge, he met his ancestor. His cultivation was suddenly promoted to the 4th level of the god-shaping realm, and he also obtained an emperor-level Hunyuan Wuji sword. It's like a dream. "Boy." Yi Yun smiled beside him, took out another black robe, and threw it to Lord Grimm. "That dress of yours is ruined, why not change into this one?" Lord Grimm took the black robe and felt the aura on it. His heart suddenly trembled and he almost threw the robe to the ground. This turned out to be an imperial robe. Why is the heritage of our ancestors so profound? Not only did he give away an imperial weapon, he also gave him an imperial robe, which really shocked Lord Grimm. 100,000 years ago, was the Shenlong Sect so powerful? Even if the Shenlong Sect had become the top sect of the eternal level at that time, it probably would not have such emperor-level and god-level weapons. Even though Lord Grimm was confused, he still kept it in his heart. Luo Li turned around. Lord Grimm took off his clothes and put on this black robe. Looking at Lord Grimm's still childish little face, Yi Yun's heart moved, and he asked softly, "June Grimm, when you were taken to Wangue Ridge by the masked man, did you find any problems with him?" I heard the ancestor ask this. Lord Grimm began to recall the entire incident. After dozens of seconds, he spoke softly, "Ancestor, this man is extremely cautious and basically didn't speak during the whole journey. But once when I was going to the convenience store, I accidentally saw the coachman pulling the carriage under his clothes. The symbol of the Izumo Sword Sect is revealed, and I don't know if it is related to the Izumo Sword Sect." Izumo Sword Sect, Yi Yun looked at Luo Li. Chapter 17. All the way to the west, the sword points to the cloud. You are listening at novelfull.audio. See the ancestors and ask questions. Luo Li quickly explained, "My ancestor, the Izumo Sword Sect is also one of the 10 major forces of the Guyu dynasty. It is located in the Izumo Mountain in the west, about 10,000 miles away from Wangue Ridge." "Well, let's go to the Izumo Sword Sect." Yi Yun touched his eyebrows with his hand, smiled softly, and then waved his hand, and a black carriage appeared. After the black carriage appeared, it immediately gave off a violent aura. Zitzi. The surrounding space was squeezed, creating layers of ripples. It seemed that it could not bear the breath of the carriage. "Back off." Yi Yun gently touched his hand, and all the breath suddenly disappeared. "Oh my god, it's actually a god-level carriage." At this moment, Luo Li sensitively felt the level of this black carriage, and couldn't help but open her mouth wide and let out an exclamation. Lord Grimm also felt it. The two people looked at each other and could see the shock in each other's eyes, especially Lord Grimm, who couldn't help but become more curious about his ancestor. Any vehicle that you take out for travel is a god-level one. The heritage of our ancestors is so powerful. No wonder it is said that 100,000 years ago, the Shenlong Sect was the first sect in Sangnan continent and had reached the eternal level. It's really not covered. After the black carriage appeared, no horses appeared. Yi Yun shook his hand again, and a tall black horse appeared. This horse is covered with dragon scales and has a single horn on its head, giving it an extremely magical feeling. Luo Li and Jun Moxiao looked at the black horse, feeling the terrifying aura coming from it, and couldn't help but tremble. This moment, the two of them seemed to feel something huge and terrifying coming next to them, making them feel the threat of death. God, what kind of evil thing is this dark horse? Yi Yun walked over, patted the black horse's head with his hand, and then said with a smile, "Little horse, your appearance will scare people, so you should become more ordinary." Herod, that the black horse suddenly raised its head to the sky and let out a long roar. With a shudder, the dragon scales all over its body disappeared, the horn on its head also disappeared, and even the terrifying aura coming from his body disappeared. He became an ordinary dark horse. Very good. Yi Yun nodded with satisfaction. Don't worry, sir, I won't scare some children. The black horse grinned suddenly, revealing a row of white teeth, and spoke a human language. That's good, Yi Yun laughed, then turned around, looked at the stunned pair of seniors, and said with a smile, "What are you waiting for? Get in the car quickly." After saying that, Yi Yun jumped slightly, jumped onto the carriage, and entered the carriage. Lord Grimm and Luoli looked at each other, woke up instantly, rushed over and jumped onto the carriage, one on the left and one on the right, sitting in front of the carriage, like grooms. "Ancestor, can I drive your car for you?" Lord Grimm picked up the reins tremblingly and asked cautiously. "No problem." Yi Yun's voice came from the car. Lord Grimm gently pulled the reins, and the black horse looked back at him and grinned, as if smiling. "Let's go," Lord Grimm said tremblingly. The black horse moved its hooves and walked out of Wangue Ridge. The black horse's movements were not fast, but each step seemed to advance dozens of feet, and the speed was unusually astonishing. After leaving Wangue Ridge, Yi Yun's voice came out. "You two, brothers and sisters, are not very familiar with the kung fu of our sect, so we took a carriage there, which allowed you to regain some of your fighting strength along the way. When we get to the Izumo Sword Sect, it will be up to you two to take action. Don't worry, ancestor, we will work hard to practice." Lord Grimm and Luoli nodded in agreement. Only then did the two of them understand their ancestor's good intentions. It turned out that he wanted to teach them some of the secrets of the Shenlong Sect along the way. After all, their mastery is not deep enough. Even if they use the Shenlong 9 transformation technique, they feel good about themselves, but in fact, they are still so miserable when they fall into the eyes of their ancestors. The sound of wheels rolling, the black carriage started slowly. It looked very slow, but in fact it disappeared into the horizon very quickly, running towards the Izumo Sword Sect in the west. Only a few hours passed, then some monks came to 10,000 Ghosts Ridge and discovered the huge changes here. They couldn't help but cover their heads with horror on their faces. Not a single ghost was missing, the entire Wangue Ridge was empty, not even a single monk. What happened? At this time someone came again. One of them is a disciple of the Blood-Clothed Sect. After he arrived at Wangue Ridge, he suddenly looked shocked and murmured to himself, "What's going on? The deputy sect leader hasn't returned to the sect yet." Then more monks arrived, and everyone was shocked to find that all their fellow disciples had mysteriously disappeared. What the hell is going on? Not only have all the evil ghosts disappeared, but even the disciples of the major forces have also disappeared. All evaporated from the world. Everyone looked at me, with big eyes and small eyes, and their faces were confused. After discussing with each other for a while, no one came up with a result, and then they all went back to the sect to report. This shocking change in Wangue Ridge spread like a storm throughout the entire Guyu dynasty, and even spread to other surrounding areas. Everyone is talking about the great changes in Wangue Ridge. All guessing, everyone had different opinions and argued endlessly, but in the end no reasonable explanation was found. The Wangue Ridge incident has evolved into an unsolved case. Many monks like to get together to drink some wine in their free time, and then happily discuss the affairs of Wangue Ridge, just when the entire Guyu dynasty was extremely lively. A black carriage arrived at the foot of Izumo Mountain half a month later. "Ancestor, this is Izumo Mountain," Lord Grimm said respectfully. "Okay, don't stop, keep going up. If anyone dares to stop you, just kill them with one sword." Yi Yun's voice sounded from inside the car. "Okay, ancestor." Lord Grimm looked excited and held the Hunyuan Wuji sword in his hand. With the guidance of his ancestors along the way, although his realm has not been broken through, his true strength has already made a qualitative leap. He had a deeper understanding of the 3 secret arts of Shenlong Sect, and the senior sister Luoli next to him has also broken through to the first level of the God-shaping realm. Combat power has also been improved. Both of them have emperor-level robes on their bodies. It can be said that ordinary attacks are completely ineffective against them. In addition, they possess magical weapons and the supreme skills of the Shenlong Sect, the fighting power of two people. It can be said that it is unmatched by monks of the same generation. This time, the two of them were also prepared to use the Yunjian sect as a whetstone. Give it a try. Today's real level. Chapter 18: A strong visit to the Izumo Sword Sect. You are listening at novelfull.audio. At the foot of Izumo Mountain, a carriage drove slowly, and in a short time, it arrived in front of the Izumo Sword Sect's mountain gate. In front of the Izumo Sword Sect's mountain gate, two disciples stood guard. The two of them saw this black carriage approaching from a distance, and couldn't help but be slightly startled. Who is it? Stop right now. A disciple immediately drew his sword and looked at the black carriage with a wary expression. There was a boy and a girl sitting in the front of this carriage, both young, but when the two felt each other's cultivation, they couldn't help but gasp. That girl is at the first level of the God-shaping realm, and the young man next to him turned out to be at the fourth level of the God-shaping realm. This is too terrible. In their Izumo Sword Sect, those who can cultivate to the realm of shaping gods are all sect elders who are over 50 years old. Call your sect leader out. Lord Grimm's eyes fell on the disciple guarding the mountain gate, and he raised his eyebrows. Call the sect master to come out. The two disciples were stunned again. Is this young man too loud? As soon as they came up, they were asked to call out the sect leader. Which sect do you belong to? Tell me your name. A disciple cleared his throat and asked with a straight face. Their sect leader has a high position and is very busy all day long. If he goes in and reports directly, he won't even know what sect the other party is, and he may be in trouble and be punished by the sect leader. We are from the Shenlong Sect. Luoli revealed her family background with a cold face. The two disciples looked at each other and couldn't help but feel a little confused. What sect is the Shenlong Sect? Why have you never heard of it? Sorry, you too, we have never heard of the Shenlong Sect. One of the disciples refused politely. If it was a famous sect in the Guyu dynasty, they would naturally know about it, but they had never heard of the Shenlong Sect. Luo Li's face trembled slightly. As the leader of the Shenlong Sect, she was turned away by two young monks who were only at the mysterious pill realm, which made her a little embarrassed. Luo Li swayed slightly and left the carriage like a phantom. She suddenly fell in front of the two disciples, pulled out the supreme golden dragon sword, and slashed it out with a fierce blow, stopping between the disciples' eyebrows, and said coldly. It doesn't matter if you didn't know before, but you will know in the future, so hurry up and inform your sect master. It's too late, otherwise, don't blame this sect master for going on a killing spree. The deep coldness of the sword tip penetrated directly to the center of his eyebrows. The disciple's face changed drastically, and cold sweat broke out on his forehead. He was just a small monk on the third level of the Xiandan realm. Facing a big boss in the God-shaping realm, the powerful aura coming from him made him breathless. Wait a moment, I will report it to the sect leader. This disciple took a few steps back, turned around and ran towards the sect. Another disciple next to him was sweating all over his body. He looked at the beautiful girl in front of him with a horrified expression, and couldn't help but swallow hard. This God-shaping realm is really too powerful. Besides, the disciple who ran to report rushed all the way to the inner courtyard and happened to see an old man wearing a white robe. Elder Mu, there is someone from the Shenlong Sect outside who wants to see the leader. Please go and inform him quickly. The disciple said hurriedly. What kind of sect is the Shenlong Sect? Why have I never heard of it? How can you be so reckless? Elder Mu cursed, with a displeased look on his face. Elder Mu, those two people are so powerful. They are both strong men in the God-shaping realm. The disciple said with a cry. What? He's actually a strong man in the God-shaping realm. Elder Mu was also shocked. In the God-shaping realm in the Guyu dynasty, he was definitely a powerful monk who stomped his feet and trembled wildly. Even their Izumo Sword Sect only has 8 God-shaping realm experts. Can you clearly see their specific cultivation levels? Elder Mu asked again carefully. The disciple quickly said, You see clearly, Elder Mu, one of the girls is 16 or 17 years old and is at the first level of the God-shaping realm. She claims to be the master of the Shenlong Sect, and the other young man, at the age of 15 or 16, his cultivation level is even higher, and he is already at the 4th level of the God-shaping realm. What did you say? After listening to this disciple's report, Elder Mu was shocked and almost fainted from fear. Did you reach the realm of shaping the gods at the age of 15 or 16? This is too scary. There is no such genius in the entire Guyu dynasty. Could it be from somewhere outside? Elder Mu thought about it and felt that this matter was not trivial, so he hurriedly walked towards the main hall. When he saw the leader, he immediately reported the matter to the leader Li Qingshan. After listening to this, Li Qingshan's face became extremely serious. The arrival of 2 powerful men in the God-shaping realm is by no means a trivial matter. Come on, follow me out and take a look. What's going on? Li Qingshan walked out of the main hall and went straight to the mountain gate. Elder Mu followed closely behind. When he reached the mountain gate, Li Qingshan saw 2 people standing outside the door, a boy and a girl, both of whom are extremely good-looking. After taking a closer look, Li Qingshan was shocked. As Elder Mu said, one of these 2 people was at the 4th level of the God-shaping realm, and the other was at the 1st level of the God-shaping realm. They are all big bosses in the God-shaping realm. Li Qingshan looked at these 2 people and couldn't help but sigh in his heart. He has been practicing for decades, but he has only reached the 5th level of the divine realm, and these 2 ridiculously young guys in front of them are already in the God-shaping realm, especially that young man. If he is given a little more time, he can surpass himself. Through the 2 people, Li Qingshan saw the black carriage again. The carriage looked very ordinary, but it gave him a strange feeling. Could it be, is there an expert here? Li Qingshan thought to himself. Li Qingshan, who had a rather cautious personality, immediately released a stream of spiritual consciousness and swept towards the carriage, but he found that the carriage was empty, not even a human figure. This made him feel relieved. It seemed that the carriage should be that of the girl. Elder Mu once said that this girl claimed to be the leader of the Shenlong Sect, although it is a bit ridiculous for a girl to become a sect leader at such a young age. However, Li Qingshan couldn't laugh. After all, someone who can become a sect leader with 1 level of cultivation in the God-shaping realm, the other party definitely has this qualification. I have met 2 friends from afar. I am Li Qingshan, the current master of the Izumo Sword Sect. Who are you 2? Li Qingshan clasped his hands in his fists with a smile on his face. Luo Li's face was calm, and she clasped her fists slightly, and said softly, I am Luo Li, the leader of the Shenlong Sect. Seeing Luo Li's appearance, Yi Yun in the carriage couldn't help but smile knowingly. Although Luo Li is young, but his actions also reveal the bearing of a master. Li Qingshan put his hands behind his back and said with a smile, I wonder what you 2 do with my Izumo Sword Sect. Call all the people from your Izumo Sword Sect who have gone out in the past 2 months to this sect leader. I want to find an enemy. Luo Li narrowed her eyelids and said coldly, looking for an enemy. Li Qingshan's heart suddenly jumped. Could it be said that the elders of the Izumo Sword Sect who were in the God-shaping realm provoked the Shenlong Sect? Chapter 19, Peeling off the cocoon, and the situation is tense. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Li Qingshan felt a little heavy and glanced at Elder Mu. In the past 2 months, can any elders from our sect who are in the realm of God-shaping go out? Elder Mu thought for a while, frowned and said, no one went out. Li Qingshan suddenly felt enlightened and smiled at the beautiful girl. Master Luo, several elders of the Izumo Sword Sect have not left the mountain within 2 months. I wonder who offended the noble sect? Luo Li did not answer, but glanced at her junior brother Jun Moxiao. Lord Grimm stepped forward. The young man had a face like a crown of jade, eyes like morning stars, tall and straight like a sword, and a heroic figure. He looked at Li Qingshan calmly and said in a deep voice, Sect Master Li, you can call all the disciples who have cultivated below the God-shaping realm and have gone out within 2 months, and I will identify them one by one. Li Qingshan hesitated slightly. The young man in front of him, even though he was a little lower than him, put a huge pressure on him. The energy in this young man's body is surging, as strong as a dragon, and the void trembles slightly when he breathes. He is truly a rare genius. Especially, both the boy and the girl were wearing royal-level robes, which gave people an extremely noble feeling, making Li Qingshan even more afraid to act rashly. After thinking about it, Li Qingshan still felt that peace was the most important thing. Then he said to Elder Mu, go and call all the disciples who have been out in the past 2 months to the square. Okay, master. Elder Mu agreed and immediately hurried in. He can also understand the leader's difficulties. After all, these two seemingly noble-looking young men and women in the God-shaping realm are definitely not ordinary people. I am afraid they, the Izumo Sword Sect, cannot afford to offend them. Li Qingshan smiled gently at Luo Li again. You too, please follow me. Luo Li glanced at Jun Moxiao, who understood it and immediately swayed his body and appeared near the front of the black carriage, driving the carriage slowly into the mountain gate. The light flashed in Li Qingshan's eyes, and he was puzzled as to why he had to take this carriage with him. However, although he had doubts in his heart, he just glanced at the black carriage lightly, said nothing, and continued to lead the way. Luo Li followed behind. Soon the group of people arrived at the square. At this time, people came to the square one after another, and soon more and more people gathered. Lord Grimm jumped down from the carriage, standing in the square. His eyes were as sharp as a hawk, constantly observing the disciples who came to the square, looking for the person from the past, but none of the Izumo Sword Sect disciples who came to the square were the coachman he saw that day. Lord Grimm was not in a hurry, just searching slowly. There were more and more people, slowly reaching thousands. After many disciples came to the square, they were confused, and began to whisper to each other. The buzzing sound was very noisy. Sect Master, everyone is here. Elder Mu counted the number of people and reported to Li Qingshan. Li Qingshan nodded, then looked at Lord Grimm. Lord Grimm frowned. He did not find the driver. Is everyone really here? Lord Grimm looked at Elder Mu and asked coldly. Basically everything is ready. Elder Mu felt a little chilled by Lord Grimm's gaze, and nodded quickly. Impossible. I saw a disciple of the Izumo Sword Sect in the past, but he is not here. Lord Grimm said with firm eyes. Li Qingshan looked at Elder Mu and asked, Elder Mu, think about it again and see who else is left behind. Elder Mu thought for a while, then suddenly slapped his forehead and said. In the retreat place where our ancestors retreated in the back mountain, there are still 2 disciples who are waiting on us. They have been down the mountain before. Then what are you waiting for? Why don't you call them over? Lord Grimm said coldly. Elder Mu looked at Li Qingshan with a troubled look on his face. Sect Master, there is absolutely nothing wrong with those 2 people. They only happened once. Li Qingshan sighed. Having already reached this point, he could only let Elder Mu have to work hard again. After all, he didn't want to be enemies with these 2 people, these 2 strong men who have always been in the realm of gods. Once they become enemies of the Izumo Sword Sect, even if they, the Izumo Sword Sect, could defeat them, they would still have to pay a heavy price. Li Qingshan didn't want the sect to suffer huge losses just because of a trivial matter. Elder Mu took the order and left. Not long after, he brought 2 people back. Both of these people are young men in their 30s. Lord Grimm glanced at the 2 of them. Suddenly his eyes lit up. He pointed at one of the young men and said, that's the guy. Li Qingshan took a look and found that this disciple's cultivation level was only at the 1st level of Yuan High Realm. Headmaster Luo, as a disciple of Izumo Sect, I am still very young. How can I become your enemy? Li Qingshan asked. Lord Grimm suddenly stretched out his hand and grabbed the Yuan High Realm disciple who had been lowering his head from a distance. Do you still recognize me? Lord Grimm looked at him and sneered. The disciple raised his head and looked at Jun Moxiao's face carefully. I couldn't help but feel more and more frightened as I watched, and suddenly my whole body began to tremble. He lost his voice and said, how could it be you? Didn't you die in Wangui Ridge? Thanks to you, I'm not dead. Lord Grimm sneered repeatedly. Holding this disciple with one hand, he strode up to Li Qingshan. The disciple kept struggling, and at the same time he shouted, that's not right, weren't you at the Qi gathering realm at that time? How come it was only more than half a month later that you became a great monk at the 4th level of the God-shaping realm? Already? Lord Grimm sneered and did not answer his question. Li Qingshan and others next to them felt their hearts skip a beat. It took half a month to upgrade from the gas-gathering mirror to the God-shaping realm. How is this possible? For a moment, they also felt that this disciple of their sect was a little crazy. At this moment, a thunderous sound suddenly came from the air. Where did these 2 idiots come from? They dared to come to my Izumo Sword Sect to cause trouble and even kidnapped my disciples. That the sound boomed, a sword light flashed, and an old man wearing black robes and carrying a long sword fell down. The old man's aura was powerful, exuding the aura of the 9th level of the God-shaping realm. I've met the Supreme Elder. When Li Qingshan saw this person, he was shocked and quickly bowed to salute. The other disciples in the square were all like this. Suddenly, a rumbling sound enveloped the entire Izumo Sword Sect. Brushing, 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 one after another figures fell from all directions. Everyone is in the realm of shaping the gods. These were the other elders from the God-shaping realm who also appeared at the same time after the Taishang elder appeared. Li Qingshan, you are such a coward as the leader. People have bullied the Izumo Sword Sect to this extent. Are you still a human being? That the Supreme Elder looked at each other angrily, pointed at Li Qingshan and cursed. Li Qingshan's face turned red and his whole body was shaking. He didn't want the Izumo Sword Sect to suffer any losses, but he didn't expect that he would turn into a coward when spoken to by the Supreme Elder. You don't need to explain. Draw your sword and kill these two people immediately. The Supreme Elder snorted coldly. Seeing that the Supreme Elder was angry, Li Qingshan took a deep breath and pulled out his sword. The other elders of the Izumo sect, with their eyelids drooping, also drew their swords, pointing at Luo Li and Jun Moxiao. In an instant, the entire Izumo Sword Sect was on edge with murderous intent. Within the carriage, Yi Yun smiled slightly when he saw this scene. Although the Supreme Elder looks like the mastermind behind the scenes, it shouldn't be that simple. But the driver of that carriage was indeed the driver who pulled Lord Grimm to 10,000 Ghosts Ridge. As for whether this Supreme Elder is the masked man, it's hard to make a conclusion yet. The mastermind behind the scenes was hidden so deeply. It should not be possible for such a small sect like the Izumo Sword Sect to do this. Furthermore, the Izumo Sword Sect and the Shenlong Sect had little to do with each other, so the Supreme Elder had no reason to take action directly. Behind him, there should be a bigger force standing. Chapter 20 Battle with the Izumo Sword Sect. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Haha, that's seeing a lot of people cheering around, including several strong men in the God-shaping realm. Surrounded by powerful enemies, Lord Grimm's blood boiled and he looked very excited. Junior brother, today is finally our turn to go on a killing spree. We no longer have to live that kind of life of escape. Luo Li held the supreme golden dragon sword in her hand, and her beautiful little face was as red as blood due to excitement. Yes, senior sister. Lord Grimm was holding the Hunyuan Wuji sword, and his handsome jade face became extremely strange. His mood at the moment was the same as Luo Li's. Being chased all year round is like a lost dog. Today, I finally have the opportunity to show off what I have learned in my life and show my skills in front of my ancestors. Let the Izumo Sword Sect become the first target of their Shenlong Sect sword sacrifice. Kill. Luo Li looked around at the powerful enemy and laughed loudly, extremely heroic. Boom. She lightly stamped her foot, and an illusory dragon appeared behind her. This dragon is golden in color and is more than 10 feet tall. Although it is a phantom, it feels extremely real to people. Especially the pair of golden vertical pupils give people a huge pressure. Lord Grimm also laughed loudly, his body moved slightly, and behind him, a golden dragon also appeared. This is the starting point of the real Shenlong sword technique. Carrying the golden dragon on your back, kill everyone in the world with one sword. The golden dragon is born, don't fight with it. In the past half-month, Yi Yun taught them carefully and explained the Shenlong sword technique to them again. After all, the Shenlong sect has been passed down from his 13th generation to Luo Li's 298th generation, and has experienced so many changes in the middle that the effect of the inheritance is getting worse and worse. Therefore, the Shenlong sword technique mastered by Luo Li and the others is only 1/10 of its original size. Shenlong's gesture like this move is a symbol of Shenlong swordsmanship. Carrying a golden dragon, the dragon's blood in the body is surging like a surging river, with great power, and can exert the powerful power of the dragon sword technique. Suddenly seeing the strange sight of these two golden dragons, the disciples of the Izumo Sword Sect were so frightened that their faces changed and they all retreated. Thus, in the huge square, only those strong men of the Shaping God realm and a few people who were at the 10th level of the Yuan High realm remained. The Supreme Elder stared at the two golden dragon shadows. His pupils were deep, and he didn't know what he was thinking. Li Qingshan also felt tremendous pressure, especially the boy who was on the fourth level of the God-shaping realm. At this moment, he actually had the feeling that if he took action, blood would inevitably be spattered 5 steps away. What kind of swordsmanship is this? Why is it so strong? Several God-shaping realm elders around them all had expressions of horror on their faces. Among these God-shaping realm elders, some are just at the first level of the God-shaping realm. Kill them, leave no one alive. The Supreme Elder looked indifferent, raised his sword to the sky, and gave the order to attack. Li Qingshan was the first to rush over. His target is not Lord Grimm, but Luoli. In his eyes, Luoli, who was at the first level of the God-shaping realm, was more like a soft persimmon, whizzing. The sword light was like clouds, rolling down from the sky. This is the most powerful Izumo sword technique of the Izumo Sword Sect. Li Qingshan has been immersed in this sword technique for many years and it is very powerful. Well done. Luoli was carrying the golden dragon shadow on her back, and her aura was extremely powerful. She was holding the supreme golden dragon sword and rushed towards Li Qingshan. The sword light in his hand was like a swimming dragon, piercing Li Qingshan's cloud-like sword light. The air made a thunderous explosion. Izumo's impeccable swordsmanship was immediately broken by her golden dragon sword chi. In the blink of an eye, a golden dragon appeared in front of him. Li Qingshan was startled, hurriedly waved his sword to block it, and took advantage of the situation to dodge in other directions, and then hid. But what he didn't expect was that the golden dragon sword energy was extremely difficult to control. It changed its direction strangely, followed him, and quickly landed on his left arm. Poof! His left arm was cut off by the golden dragon sword energy. Li Qingshan let out a scream and quickly retreated. What? The Supreme Elder couldn't help but be secretly surprised when he saw this scene. I didn't expect that this little girl, despite her low level, had such amazing fighting power, especially her swordsmanship, which made her even more superb and difficult to resist. The entire square was ablaze. On the other side, others rushed towards Lord Grimm. Lord Grimm unleashed the divine dragon sword technique, and the sword light was like divine dragons. Many people were hit by his sword and suffered minor or serious injuries. Almost no one is Lord Grimm's opponent. The corner of the Supreme Elder's eyes twitched, and he was shocked. He didn't expect that these two young men and women could have such great strength. Little girl, go to hell. He swung his sword towards Luoli and killed her. When Luoli saw the Supreme Elder coming to attack him, he didn't dare to be careless. He relied on the 9 transformations of the divine dragon to dodge to the side. At the same time, he used his backhand sword and attacked the Supreme Elder with 7 or 8 rays of sword energy. The two were fighting in the blink of an eye. After all, this Supreme Elder is at the 9th level of the God-shaping realm. No matter how amazing Luoli's combat power is, there is still a big gap between him and this Supreme Elder. After a few rounds, she was immediately at a disadvantage, but thanks to the 9 transformations of the dragon, her life was not in danger for a while. The remaining people were frantically besieging Lord Grimm. Lord Grimm, with divine help, showed off his power and fought with more than a dozen elders from the God-shaping realm and Yuan High realm. For a while, the fight was inextricable. As the battle progressed, people from the Izumo Sword Sect were constantly injured. Inside the black carriage, Yian looked at this somewhat anxious battle with a smile on his face, tapping his fingers lightly on the car seat. He did not choose to take action at this time. After all this is the experience of 2 little guys. These 2 children are still young, and it will be of huge benefit to them to experience this kind of life and death battle. The battle became more and more intense and reached a fever pitch. Lord Grimm's Shenlong sword technique became more and more smooth and powerful, and he gradually gained the upper hand. The disciples and elders of the Izumo Sword Sect were soon injured one by one, and their combat power was damaged. Serious, swish, brush, brush. Dozens of golden dragon sword energies bloomed outward like lotus flowers. In a dragon roar, all the sword energy flew out, and the elders of the God-shaping realm of the Izumo Sword Sect suddenly fell down in large pieces. There was no one standing in front of Lord Grimm. The elders of the Izumo Sword Sect who besieged him were all hit by swords, and their blood flowed all over the ground. They were dying and had no strength to fight anymore. Ouch! Feeling so happy after killing him, Lord Grimm looked up to the sky and laughed. Then, he immediately turned around. Sister, let me help you. Lord Grim roared, and his sword merged into one, turning into a golden dragon and attacking the Supreme Elder of the Izumo Sword Sect. The Supreme Elder was extremely shocked when he saw that Lord Grim had actually wounded all the God-shaping realm elders of the Izumo Sword Sect. Unexpectedly, this young man at the 4th level of the God-shaping realm is so terrifying. He let out a long roar, swung his sword, and the sword light poured down like mercury, attacking Lord Grim. Lord Grim was in high spirits and fought with him with his sword, although there are 5 small realms between him and the Supreme Elder, but Lord Grim was not timid at all. Luoli, who had been wandering away, now fought back. Suddenly, the entire square was filled with dragon shadows and sword lights flying. Countless buildings around him were damaged.